Hello, and welcome to Trusting After Trauma, How to Neutralize Narcissistic Abuse. I'm your host, Pi Venus Winslow. This informative interview series will provide valuable insights from experts who are dedicated to helping others heal from childhood trauma and narcissistic abuse so they can lead joyful, powerful, and fulfilling lives. Many of these professionals specialize in medicine, science, psychology, abuse recovery, energy work, mindset, nutrition, and much, much more. I'm very excited to have Talya Lutzker here with us today. Talya Lutzker has been studying yoga and Ayurveda for over 25 years. She's a certified Ayurveda practitioner, Ayurveda chef, author, yoga teacher, and an advocate for women's awesomeness. Talya created Ayurveda every day to help you heal your body by skyrocketing your energy and understand yourself through the natural and self-empowering framework of Ayurveda, India's holistic healthcare system and yoga's sister science. Welcome, Talya. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Gosh, I'm so honored. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's my pleasure. So, how did you end up on this summit? I know I asked you, but...
Great question. So, you and I got connected through a mutual acquaintance, basically. And when I got your email, I was like, what? This is exactly the personal work that I'm doing. And it's so alive for me right now. And so when I heard about Trusting After Trauma, I mean, it almost just makes me want to cry, just the title. It's so beautiful and so profound. And, I thought about it for actually several days before I responded, because I'm not known as a codependency and narcissistic abuse recovery coach or teacher, anything like that. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, which is India's holistic healthcare system. And it's a system that really helps you embody self-care, because so many of the practices are about putting yourself first, making sure that you matter, really prioritizing how you feel. So that, recovery from codependency and narcissistic abuse and trauma recovery has always been a big part of my life. But just recently, this summer, I met Lisa Romano, who is also on this summit. And I called my sister a couple days ago. I was like, you won't effing believe I am going to be on a summit that Lisa Romano is also on. My sister was like, what? Because we're both just like, Lisa Romano is our guru. She's my guru right now. And Lisa has just been teaching me so much. It's just been the stuff that I've been learning from Lisa and what you teach is just, for me, for whatever reason, it's the missing piece it's like I feel like the puzzle of my recovery is complete now. I mean, I'm not so arrogant to say like I'm done healing. That's not what I mean. But it was like, this was the piece, because even teaching yoga, you know how you go to a yoga class and the teacher might be really great at like kind of philosophizing and talking about forgiveness or compassion. I'm not saying I can't do that, and I don't do that when I teach. But I've always felt so much more comfortable in the physical realm. You hear bells and footsteps, it's my puppy coming in. I've felt so much more comfortable because when you are recovering from trauma and codependency and narcissistic abuse, I mean, that is big stuff, and that involves your self-esteem. So I think I would doubt myself, like, do I really have the right to talk about whatever, kind of higher consciousness when at night alone at home, this is what I'm always working on. And a lot of times crying and screaming because I'm stuck. And so there's been this total, I mean, I'm still totally learning, but just such a wave of healing that is, I mean, can I swear on this summit?
I think all of
I
the
don't know. I
people
will.
who have subscribed to it are 18 or older.
Okay. I mean,
I would think so.
but it's just been effing profound, unbelievably profound for me. And as I listen to Lisa's teachings, she's one of the things she says all the time is like, how does that feel? How does that feel? You've got, like, if you didn't have a sense of self because your parents didn't reflect back to you that you were of value, you wouldn't develop a sense of self. I
Right.
thought that was like, that blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And with Ayurveda and yoga as well, but especially Ayurveda, I mean, the one thing that I'm always teaching my students is, how do you feel? What do you need? And I think that's why Ayurveda as a healing science and a healing medicine practice has been so incredibly profound for me personally. And of course, I mean, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing it. So I feel like I said yes to being here because the message of Ayurvedic medicine totally resonates with self-care and self-love, and that, it really is up to us to affirm our, ourselves, to validate ourselves, and to affirm that we matter.
Mm-hmm.
And Ayurveda is the life science in action of that.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. And yeah, and you're so right. It is perfectly in alignment because I know for me, especially for me, being the daughter of a narcissistic mother, I did not know how to love myself. I did not know how to give myself self-care. In fact, I was extremely critical and hard on myself. And
Tell me about it.
yeah, didn't didn't nurture myself, didn't take care of myself, put myself in dangerous situations, in dangerous toxic relationships because of a deep belief I had that I wasn't worth it. And I wasn't lovable, so I didn't love myself. And to have a practice that is the foundation of it is self-love and self-care. That's profound.
Yeah, because even, see, that's what I mean by the missing piece. Like, it's unconscious. You don't, you might be doing all these things to show yourself that you love yourself. Like, I'm really trying, like that was my experience. Like, I'm really trying. I am really making an effort to make good choices. And I just kept still finding myself in, PTSD after PTSD relationship. And who knows, we'll see what my future holds. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just gonna literally keep working what you are sharing and teaching in this summit. It's like a lifeline. But even when there is that unconsciousness, because I'm sure some of you who are watching, you are figuring this out. Like, this might still be really mysterious for you. You might be in an incredible amount of pain. And I was too, I have been too. And so being able to have something you can lean, you need so many things to lean on to improve. And I really do trust that it's like, that things will show up for you when you need them to, when you're ready to take them on. I do believe that. But I also believe that, I also believe that there's like peeling back the layers of an onion. I mean, you can't just like, you find out what consciousness is and then the next day you're enlightened. Like, maybe the rare person, I've heard it happen and I'm always jealous. Or like, what? Like, how's that possible? And also, right, the reason why I wanted to call this our talk, like, there's nothing wrong with you, because it would always end up being that way. Like, well, there must be something wrong with me because this is working for everybody else. I'm doing the step-by steps that they are. But if you're that unconscious belief that it's not only just awareness, I think, of, oh, I believe I'm not enough. I don't think that is enough. I
It's
think
not.
you have to feel it, And like Lisa teaches, you have to understand why it's there and how it got embedded in your brain. Because what she says too, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to be a total Lisa, like if you haven't watched Lisa's interview yet, you got to go back and watch Lisa and then rewatch mine. You'll see why I'm insanely obsessed with her and her teachings. But she says it's not you, it's your programming.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody has ever said that to me, ever, ever, ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 46 years old, and I've thought the whole time that it was me.
Yeah.
It's like freedom.
Yeah.
Of course, there's still more to do.
Yeah.
Heal. But to understand that
Mm-hmm.
is a miracle.
Yeah. Yeah. To understand it and then to integrate it.
Yes, to integrate it is a miracle. So now it just makes everything like so much better. Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about what you do, because many of our listeners might not be familiar with Ayurveda. What exactly is it and how does it work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So yes, you might be like, what is Ayurveda and what's this all about? So it is the sister science to yoga. And the way that I think about that is, yoga, most of us are familiar with yoga these days, right? Who hasn't heard of it or tried it out at least. And yoga is incredibly vast. I mean, incredibly vast, goes back thousands of years, as does Ayurveda. And it primarily focuses on meditation, breath, asana, and then there's a philosophy around it. And if you've practiced yoga a lot or you've had good teachers, you've probably heard your teacher say like, oh, when you're opening up your inner thighs, you're also opening up the blood supply to your liver, your kidneys, and your spleen. Like, so you've maybe heard stuff like, oh, wow, like my inner leg has a meridian that connects to my internal organs. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. Ayurveda is really the medicine and the physiology behind and next to the yoga practice. So also derives from India, also thousands of years old. And Ayurveda's primary, like the number one kind of pillar of practicing Ayurveda is self-awareness, which is why I said I'm always asking my students, like, it's not enough to just philosophize about the ideas of Ayurveda. If you want to use it, just like if you want to use any kind of healing work, really, you do need to check in and be like, well, how do I feel and what do I need? So Ayurveda takes nutrition, yoga, all kinds of body care, all kinds of nourishment. Like, it's really thinking about everything that surrounds your body, mind, spirit. And it says, look, I think it really does say this, even though this is my interpretation, like, you are one with nature. You are nature. Everything about you is a manifestation of nature in form, including your symptoms and your imbalances. So we're going to take nature, we're going to look at nature, and we're going to define for you what belongs where in terms of what's hot, what's cold, what's wet, what's dry, so that you can do the opposite of what's coming up for you in order to heal. So for example, just make sure I'm being clear. Let's say you, Pi, are somebody who runs really cold and you're just always freezing. And as a result, you're constipated, you have dry skin, you have insomnia, you'll never go into the ocean even though you love water, right? Ayurveda would be like, hello, what are you eating? And you're like, I'm eating salad. Like, okay, that's cold. Like you might not, or, oh, I always drink ice water at a restaurant. Why wouldn't I? It's what's served. It's like, but you're cold. We're just bringing that self-awareness to the surface, or even inviting you to even think about it. Because as codependents, a lot of us don't even think, right? Again, if you don't have a self, how can you be thinking about how you feel or where you're at in space or anything?
Right.
Right? So we'd be like, no, I want you to drink warm water. Always when you go to a restaurant, ask for hot water and lemon. The heat of the water is going to warm you up. The lemon is sour. That has a warming effect on the body. You don't need to go swimming in the ocean except when it's summer, but go to Hawaii, whatever. But could you sit in a hot bath? Could you go to hot tubs? Right? And then when we start to do those practices, people are just amazed by how many of their symptoms, body, mind, spirit, start to resolve. And I came to Ayurveda because I had a severe autoimmune disorder. And it took me a long time. It took me 17 years, but I do not have that autoimmune disorder anymore.
Wow.
And I never took Western medication. Well, that's not true. I did use an antifungal topical cream at one point, but I did this all through body care, opening up the meridians of my body, learning how to move my lymph and my blood, which is you're massaging yourself. When you do that, or allowing somebody else to massage you to help you come closer to a state of balance, a state of radiance, which is what I mean when I say skyrocket your energy. I mean, it's not like you're going to be manic. It's that everybody really, we are energetic beings. So your energy, you deserve to have your energy be vital. And it really is just figuring out what's missing or what needs to be put into balance to achieve that vitality. So that's a big part of what I help people do through, the Ayurvedic medicine route. And yoga is a part of that too, of course.
I love that. So you mentioned that you healed yourself from this autoimmune disease. Did that lead you to find Ayurveda, or is there more to how you?
Yeah, no, it was through Ayurveda that I healed it. So I had gone to, this was in my late 20s, I went to become a yoga teacher. I'd been practicing yoga for like 8 years at that point. And I read a book called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. And the only thing that I loved at that time was yoga. So, because I didn't even know I loved food, I guess, but I didn't know really. I was so ignorant. I didn't know anything.
Well, we all are when we're young.
Yeah, sure. I was unconscious. As Lisa would say, I was beneath the veil of consciousness when it comes to food. And that I could even I wasn't very overweight, but I was maybe 10 or 15 pounds overweight throughout my 20s, which drove this absolutely insane eating disorder. I couldn't maintain intimate relationships. I always felt so bad about myself, and the weight just made it worse, right? Because then I was comparing myself, and I didn't get my period for like almost 10 years. I mean, I was totally out of balance, but I didn't really know it. I didn't think of it that way. So I didn't know there was a solution. I just thought like, oh God, it sucks to be me. And I went to become a yoga teacher. They introduced Ayurveda to us at the yoga teacher training. And I believe this is why Ayurveda is gaining so much popularity right now, is it's popular in yoga circles, and yoga is huge, right? I think 20 million people in America practice yoga now, something like that. It's awesome. But in that same yoga teacher training, I broke out in psoriasis all over my body. And psoriasis is an autoimmune disease that if you go, and it is the immune system attacking itself, it shows through the skin, but it also affects liver, joints. It can, if it's really out of control, you can develop psoriatic arthritis and psoriatic migraines. Like, it's very serious. And I just knew that Western medicine, I just knew they were like, there's no cause, there's no cure. We're really sorry you have this, but here's some cream. I hope it feels better. I mean, that's literally what Western medicine could do for me. And, I have a strong, kind of righteous streak, which has good and bad parts. good when it's really for a cause, that I care about, animal rights or whatever. But for me, it really shows up in our healthcare system of like, we are not taught how to care for our bodies.
Oh.
And that's fucked up. Like, that's crazy. And the healthcare system, at least in America, has really let us down, because the least we should know how to do is how to nourish ourselves and how to move our lymph and blood. Your lymphatic system is your immune system. And if your immune system isn't flowing, it can't come to your rescue. So if you get cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have immunity flowing to your cells, of course you got sick. Not saying
Mm-hmm.
like you deserved it or anything, but it's just, that's part of this epidemic. It's just so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But when I understood what Western medicine was going to give me, I was just like, no, I don't know how I know, but I know that there's a different way. I know that I need healing. I don't know what. And I went to several different practitioners, acupuncturists, like whatever. For 3 months, I was just going to anyone I could afford
Mm-hmm.
and, explore with. I remember one acupuncturist, she kind of like did my consultation, and I was like laying back in a chair, and she came to the front of me and she looked me like deeply in the eyes, and she's like, I really want you to get to know the world of vegetables. Like, it was great advice, but I remember like her concern was actually so profound, but that's not her skill set, was to teach me how.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I met my Ayurvedic practitioner, still my teacher, one of my best friends, sister for life, um, she was like, oh, well, this is your constitution. This is what psoriasis is. This is what autoimmune is. We're going to talk about it not only on a physical level, but on an emotional and a spiritual level. And I mean, from the first time I met with her, I was just hooked, because someone finally kind of explained myself to me on an energetic level that
Mm-hmm.
I really resonated with, because Ayurveda is physical, emotional, spiritual, psychic. So, sometimes people try to figure out what they are with like a dosha test. Those are all over the internet these days and in books. It's not an assessment tool. It's really, in my eyes, it's an educational tool to
Mm-hmm.
learn about the different constitutions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but let's say you're like, I don't know, I relate to everything, because you have so many imbalances, especially if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and this is the first time you're exploring what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I always say, like, there's nothing wrong with you. You have an imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
That's different.
Yeah.
You could have an imbalance in everything and be really confused. But then if I talk to you about Ayurveda through the emotional realm, you might be like, oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
depression, totally my thing.
Yeah.
Melancholy, totally my thing. And then you can see where that fits into the constitutions, because there's
Mm-hmm.
only 3, and there's 10 different ways that they can be combined for the different, constitutions that there are in Ayurveda. But anyway, that is how I found Ayurveda. And within 6 weeks of practicing what she taught me, I lost that 10 to 15 pounds. I mean, I looked down one day, it would literally had fallen off, because it wasn't even fat. It was like air and water that
Wow.
had been stuck, because I didn't know how to warm up my body. I run very cold. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting my period, and I've never missed it since.
Mm-hmm.
That was 18 years ago. And then the psoriasis cleared up. I want to say it cleared up entirely after 9 months. Like, my skin was actually clear. And then my dad died. Here we are with the, you know, PTSD. I didn't know that he was a narcissistic abuser. I didn't know that. I was in love with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
in love. And he totally took advantage of my love in so many different ways. I didn't know that. And when he died, the psoriasis came back. Because
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much. Am I? Okay.
Yes.
But in Ayurveda, and there's a really great book about this by Dr. Keisha Ewers. It's called like Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle.
Mm.
She's a great teacher of Ayurveda and functional medicine, but she really describes in really cool detail about how, autoimmune is the body attacking itself. It is the system of your body. Now, this to me is so codependency, narcissistic abuse recovery.
Mm-hmm.
It is the system of your body that is supposed to protect you. It's designed to protect you, and it's attacking you
Mm-hmm.
because you have internalized that you are bad, that you suck, that you don't deserve to be here, that you should be sick. I mean, it's like revolution.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I have a thyroid disease because I wasn't allowed to speak my truth. And since I started doing this work, it's reversing. Every time I go and get my blood work done, my doctor says, "We need to lower your medication again. I don't have any explanation for it." And I say, "I
I
do.
Yeah,
I do. I'm healing myself. I'm speaking my truth. Finally."
it's huge. It's
Yeah.
so huge. The psychic emotional healing is so profound. And the physical matters too.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's also just part of what can raise your vibration when you're having a really hard time. Before like this summer for me, um, I there's just so much awakening that's happened for me since I met Lisa Romano. Like I said, because it's just like I've been in therapy forever. I've done so many things, but
Mm-hmm.
I've never had someone really lay it out the way that you do and the way that she does and a lot of the other experts in this summit. And I just think it's just so incredible to have that information. It is so valuable. But my ex-boyfriend, it was like you couldn't have found a more perfect combination of my mom and my dad in this guy. And I'm gonna cry. Breaking up with him was the hardest thing I have ever done, other than putting down one of my dogs. Um, it was just excruciating. And Lisa has been explaining it to me of why,
Mm-hmm.
like that trauma bond and that. And this summer I just kept running into him. Like, I mean, everywhere I went, I was like, are you kidding me? And it was triggering so much trauma that I thought I was going to have to, I don't know. I was like, I am in danger, in real danger. And I mean, the stars, I don't know. I don't know how I found Lisa Romano, but I did. And it was just like, whew, I can live again. I can have my sanity because I just couldn't understand what is it about this stupid guy who's an asshole, who totally abused me, who doesn't care about me.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? I'm like, cannot release. I'm better than this, but I couldn't act like it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, anyway, maybe you should call this interview like raw, raw and real.
Raw and real. Well, I want to acknowledge you for being raw and real. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to do that and to share yourself with me and our audience, because I know there are people out there who are watching this who are feeling that too. They've either been they're either dealing with a parent, currently a parent that they may know or suspect is a narcissist, or a relationship. And I think you sharing that is going to be really helpful for
Oh,
people. I mean, we're not alone, and there's a reason why we get
yeah,
hooked in to a narcissist.
yeah, there sure is.
Yeah. So, so how has Ayurveda helped you heal from narcissistic abuse and codependency? And how can our listeners use it to heal?
Yeah. Well, so I have a free gift for everybody that is really, you know, I've never been more excited to be on a summit, I'll tell you. And I've been on like a million or anything like that, but I've been on several. And this isn't even, I'm just so like, we just deserve to be, everybody deserves to be loved and to know that they're loved. And so the free gift that I have for everybody is like my favorite self-loving, affirming Ayurvedic practice. It's my favorite one. Okay, so that's what I'm sharing with everyone. So I'll get to that in a couple minutes. But like I said, I'm not, of course I knew what codependency was. I'd read Melody Beattie's book like 25 years ago. I've been in Al-Anon. I have an Al-Anon sponsor. But for whatever reason, that my parents weren't identified as, I'm still I'm still figuring out what the deal is with my mom. And my mom might even be watching this and be like really hurt watching. I have no idea. But I can think about my mom's mom and be like, wow, I can say for sure that growing up with that woman as your mother would have been horrible.
Mm-hmm.
She was just she favored the boys over the girls. She was very cold. This is my opinion. She was my grandmother. I never had a relationship where people are like, I love my grandma. I'm like, my grandma's scary. I don't know my grandma. I don't feel like my grandma even cares about me or likes me or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, relationship with my grandmother? What? So that's really been helpful to think about, like, well, generationally, also I don't practice religion. I'm not into religion, but I'm Jewish, and like the whole victim mentality of the Jews, because, they've got their reasons, but it's also like, how long are you just going to be like, oh, we've been persecuted? You know what I mean? It's ancestral is
Yeah.
what I believe. So,
Yeah.
without really understanding the codependency being so embedded in me and why, and that it's not because there's something wrong with me. So without even having that, Ayurveda has literally been a lifeline for me, because it has just supported me in being the healthiest version of my constitution that I can be. I was not born with a super healthy constitution, but I mean, I am healthy as a horse, knock on wood. And it's because I have cultivated that through the wisdom of Ayurveda and through its accessibility, because it's about what you're eating. It's about how you're caring for your body. Like I lead Ayurvedic cleanse programs every season, and, just learning about, oh, there's a constitution to the season, and that affects me. Which then, when you do know that you are suffering from codependency and narcissistic abuse, you can start to be like, oh, trauma has its own constitution, for lack of a better, I want to be just basic language here. And that has deeply affected you, and why that could cause some of the imbalances and diseases that, most of my clients have some of these qualities that you're speaking to in this summit, which is also why I thought it would be great for me to say yes to this, because I think a lot of my clients might really benefit from hearing your message. And it might not be at the forefront for them. It's been at the forefront for me in different ways, but again, it's just, we all have to find our path, and sometimes it's piecing it together. So the other thing I really appreciate about Ayurveda is, let's say you're doing really well, like mentally and emotionally, but you're 30 pounds overweight and that gets you down, or you have chronic insomnia, or you've got chronic joint pain or inflammation, and you're doing well, but like your body's asking you to take your healing deeper. I feel like Ayurveda is so great at that, and truly so accessible. I mean, you have to learn it, you got to put yourself in some kind of situation where you're learning about it. That's why I have a free Facebook group called Ayurveda Every Day with Talya. And, twice a year I do like a free boot camp about Ayurveda, how to nourish your body, how to detox your body. So people can be like, okay, yeah, I could do this. Wow, this is actually really simple. This actually feels amazing. Like, wow, kind of a different kind of mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
So the practice that is my free gift to everyone on this summit, Trusting After Trauma, it's called Abhyanga. And Abhyanga is a Sanskrit word. It means, I'm giving you a loose translation. It literally, it means to oil yourself, to like self-oleate, rub oil into your skin from your feet to your heart, from your hands to your heart, so that you're following your lymphatic system's natural upward flow. The lymphatic system only goes up to the heart and it drains at the heart, which is so great for us, people in recovery, that we move everything towards our heart and be like, anything that I've been processing, anything that is a foreign invader in my body, mind, and spirit, which includes believing that you're not enough, that you don't matter. Nope, I'm going to move that towards my heart, and my heart has this unbelievable power of love to digest that, recycle it, and get it out of my life, out of my being. So every time you do this Abhyanga practice, the word for oil in Ayurveda is the same word as the word for love. Ayurveda loves oil because it is so, so, so loving, nourishing, hydrating, cleansing. So the practice that I've created for everyone is, kind of learning about how to do the Abhyanga. So I give you step-by-step instructions. And then I also give you a little guide on how you can, kind of start to evaluate, like, well, she's talking a lot about constitutions. How do I know which one I am? And then I give you a recipe for each of the 3 constitutions in Ayurveda, which are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And so you can make your own recipe. You can make your own Abhyanga. But you can also just go to the grocery store and be like, you know what, I'm just going to buy some unrefined sesame oil and rub that into my skin. I'm just going to keep it simple. That would work too.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah. So, I encourage everyone to click on the link for Talya's gift for the self-massage and self-love routine, Abhyanga.
Great. Yes.
Yes, yes. So that link will be where you found this interview. And before we wrap it up, Talya, what's the one thing you want to leave our listeners with?
The one thing that I want to leave our listeners with is my dog's doing like a drive-by. Can it be something that Lisa Romano taught me?
It can be anything you want to share.
Again, I wanted to call this talk, There's Nothing Wrong with You. That's what I want to leave everybody with. Like, it really, even if you're like, I am so effed up, like I am beyond help. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have thought that and felt that and believed that. And what I love about Ayurveda is it really is, it's like, you know what? It's an imbalance. So even thinking, right? Even not understanding that it's not you, it's your programming. Even just that's an imbalance. Just to not understand, not to know, like to have a blind spot. It's an imbalance. And you can fill that in, and you can create change. If you want to change, if you want to transform, if you want to heal, you absolutely can. And it's not easy. It takes work, but it is like so worth it. Can I say one more thing?
Yes.
Okay. So when I had this crazy breakdown this summer after repeatedly running into this, trauma trigger, I decided to take myself to Maui for, 10 days, 12 days. and I knew exactly where I wanted to stay. I didn't rent a car. I didn't rent a bicycle. I rented a surfboard. And and I knew there was a yoga studio that I could walk to. And I'm like, I'm not telling anyone. I didn't even tell my team where I was going, my business team. Why do they need to know? I'm an online business. Like, I'm just going. And I went there to heal and to be out of my hometown where I knew I wouldn't run into this person. And I was doing all of my recovery work with Lisa Romano and doing it every single day. And, and this one day, it was an excruciating day, where it was just like, I had to face such difficult feelings that day.
Mm-hmm.
It was so painful. And the sun was setting, and I got on my surfboard and I just paddled out into the middle of the ocean. I mean, not literally, but away from shore. And I just sat there, like, letting nature, this is what Ayurveda has taught me, just letting myself be healed by the rocking of the waves and the setting sun and the beautiful sky and the wind. And I just allowed myself to feel exactly what I was feeling. And I had this moment with my little girl that was just, I mean, I'm surprised I'm sharing it because it was so personal. And I was like, I don't know that I'll ever share it, but I feel like I want to share it with this group of people, because when I paddled out and I got back to my apartment, it was night. I mean, I stayed out until it was almost too dark to see. And I actually went and I took a picture of the sky and I sent it to my Lisa Romano breakthrough coaching group. And I was like, the pain is so worth it, because I don't know what I healed exactly, but something just shifted, and it was like a
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I was totally there feeling the ocean and the
I'll send you
sunshine
the
and you
picture.
releasing those feelings. So, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on this summit. This is like the biggest honor. I'm just so like, this is the most, I really think that this work is just, because you can practice all kinds of you can eat great and care for your body in certain ways, but I will say that I think a good Ayurvedic practitioner is someone who can talk to you about things beyond the physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been very fortunate that although my teacher doesn't have this language of what we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
she has been we have gone deep.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one who told me, like, when my dad was dying and I was in denial because I couldn't accept it, your dad is dying, right? Like, to have someone in your life who's just like, I'm going to be like the realest person in your life because I care about you and I care about you healing. And I'm not afraid of you not liking me.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have those kinds of practitioners when you're going deep.
Yes.
My yoga teachers have been that for me. She's been that for me. So I feel very fortunate, but I'm also, maybe that's the last thing I want to leave everybody with, is when you're seeking support, like, make sure that it's a practitioner who can go there with you, who goes there with him or herself.
Mm-hmm.
That's not everybody.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll be quiet now. I'm like so excited. I have so much to say. So,
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Talya, for sharing your story and your authenticity and your gifts and your knowledge with us. Thank you so much. It's been
thank
a
you so much.
pleasure. And thank you everybody else for joining us.
Yes.
For Trusting After Trauma, How to Neutralize Narcissistic Abuse. Make sure that you keep checking your email so you don't miss any of the amazing interviews in this series. We're going to continue to keep exploring with our experts how we can neutralize the effects of narcissistic abuse and heal our body, mind, and spirit so that we can live joyful and authentic lives. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Lots of love. Bye-bye.